The OnePlus 8 and OnePlus 8 Pro has finally been launched and they are quite impressive devices, but they are quite expensive for a OnePlus device. This is coming from a brand that popularized the term flagship killer for offering you value for money smartphones. But regardless, they do have 2020 prices, which comes with 2020 hardware. The regular OnePlus 8 comes with a 6.55-inch 1080p 90Hz display, while the OnePlus 8 Pro has a 1440p display with a 120Hz refresh rate. And that coincides with the pricing of the phones as well. We're going to do a direct rounded off conversion from the US pricing. So the base variant 8GB plus 128GB is going to cost you 3,030 ringgit. The 12GB plus 256GB storage variant is going to cost you 3,500 ringgit. For the OnePlus 8 Pro, the 8GB plus 128 variant is going to cost 3,890 ringgit. The top spec 12GB plus 256 internal storage variant is going to cost 4,300 ringgit. Under the hood, both phones come with a Snapdragon 865 chipset with 5G support. So the base variant costing only 3,000 ringgit with a flagship processor and 5G connectivity, it doesn't sound so bad. But I really would have liked if it came with a 1440p display with 120Hz refresh rate. 90Hz at 1080p I don't think cuts it for a flagship in 2020 anymore. When it comes to cameras, the OnePlus 8 has a 48MP main lens as well as a 60MP ultra-wide shooter alongside a 2MP macro lens. On the OnePlus 8 Pro, you get two 48MP lenses, a wide shooter as well as an ultra-wide lens. You also get an 8MP telephoto lens plus a 5MP color filter camera that gives your shots a stylized black and white filter, which is pretty cool. And on both phones, the selfie cameras are a 16MP front shooter. When it comes to batteries, the OnePlus 8 comes with a 4,300 mAh battery. The OnePlus 8 Pro has a bigger 4,510 battery pack. Both phones support fast charging of up to 30 watts thanks to Warp Charge 30T, which OnePlus claims can charge a phone from 0 to 60% in just half an hour. And the OnePlus 8 Pro supports wireless charging using the Warp Charge 30 wireless. But MKBHD points out, he got the phone much earlier, he points out that the full 30 watts of wireless charging with the OnePlus 8 Pro is only possible if you use the proprietary OnePlus fast charger that you need to buy separately for $70 US. And if you use a regular wireless charger with the OnePlus 8 Pro, it only charges at 5 watts. Similarly, if you use a different phone on the OnePlus wireless charger, it only charges at 5 watts. So I don't see people going out purposely spending $70 US on a wireless charger just to charge their OnePlus 8. Now in terms of features, there really isn't much to talk about because OnePlus didn't really get into it during their presentation, but you do get the same alert slider that we've seen on older OnePlus phones. You also get haptic vibration 2.0 for better feedback when you're using the phone. You also get IP68 dust and water resistance rating. You also get dual Dolby Atmos speakers. On top of that, it comes with Android 10 with Oxygen OS layered on top, which will provide you a very close stock Android experience. Now the OnePlus 8 and OnePlus 8 Pro has a very close rival in the Oppo Find X2 series. For one, they look very similar and they have very similar specs as well. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that Oppo and OnePlus are sister companies. Both the Oppo Find X2 and the Find X2 Pro have a 6.7-inch display with a 1440p resolution and 120Hz refresh rate. Both can be enabled at the same time. On top of that, they also have the same Snapdragon 865 chipset with 5G support. On paper, the Find X2 series also have the better cameras. The Find X2 Pro also has two 48MP lenses, the same Sony IMX689 sensor on the main lens. On top of that, you also get a better 32MP selfie shooter on the front for the Oppo Find X2, and you also get faster charging, wired charging at 65 watts. But here's the thing, the Find X2 series is also more expensive than the OnePlus 8 series. For the base variant of the Find X2, it costs 3,999 ringgit for 12GB of RAM and 256GB of internal storage. The Find X2 Pro costs 4,599 ringgit for the same amount of RAM but more storage at 512GB. Let's start with the non-Pro variants of each phone, and we're going to compare the 12GB RAM models because the Find X2 only comes in that configuration anyways. So there is a clear 600 ringgit price difference between the OnePlus 8 and the Oppo Find X2. You're paying more for the Oppo Find X2 because of the larger 6.7 display that pushes a resolution of 1440p at 120Hz refresh rate. And in my opinion, if you're going to pay 3,000 ringgit for a flagship, it has to come with this sort of display technology. It also comes with faster wired charging at 65 watts, better cameras at the back and at the front as well. So for 600 ringgit less on the OnePlus 8, you still get a pretty decent device, right? You still get 5G connectivity, a flagship processor, a pretty decent phone overall with Oxygen OS, which is something that's very close to stock Android. If you're looking for that kind of experience, then maybe you can give the OnePlus 8 a shot. Now what about the premium models, the OnePlus 8 Pro and the Oppo Find X2 Pro? When you take the 12GB variants of each phone, there's only a 200 ringgit price difference between the two. The Oppo Find X2 Pro is more expensive, but the OnePlus 8 Pro actually has a larger display, slightly larger, a bigger battery, and it supports wireless fast charging at 30 watts, as well as reverse charging. What the Find X2 Pro has going for it is faster wired charging, more storage at 512GB, as well as I think better cameras at the back and at the front. But I think overall, the OnePlus 8 Pro edges out the Oppo just by a tiny bit, right? And if you want Oxygen OS just to get the stock Android experience, then the OnePlus 8 Pro will be your choice. If you want more storage because you're into high-res photography or you want to download more games, then the Oppo Find X2 Pro is going to be your pick. But we have to remember one thing though, that the prices that we're giving you now is a rounded off direct conversion of the US pricing that was presented during the OnePlus 8 launch. And when it comes to Malaysia officially, it's gonna have its own local pricing, which perhaps may be cheaper. So if it is cheaper, then the answer is even more clear. Now when you compare it to the other flagship series in Malaysia, which is the Samsung Galaxy S20, well, on the Samsung Galaxy S20 and Galaxy S20 Plus, you don't get 5G connectivity. You only get it with the Galaxy S20 Ultra, but that phone costs 4,999 ringgit, which is crazy expensive. And you have to remember that these phones come packed with an Exynos 990 chipset, which has been proven to not perform as well as the Snapdragon 865, both in terms of benchmarks and battery life as well. But the Samsung Galaxy S20 series does offer better cameras and more software features as well. And then there's the Huawei P40 series, which is more affordable overall, and it also has 5G connectivity. But the problem is, you already know this, it doesn't come with Google Apps or Google services. Now we come back to the question, which is basically the title of our video. Should you buy a OnePlus 8 series smartphone? My answer is yes. The regular OnePlus 8 packs enough flagship qualities, such as 5G connectivity, a flagship processor, decent display, and fast charging and all that jazz for 3,000 ringgit. And I think this is closer to the flagship killer that OnePlus 8 has been trying to put up. But when it comes to the OnePlus 8 Pro, it's too close to its competitors in terms of price and hardware for it to be considered a flagship killer because it is the flagship. But you know what? It's still cheaper than its competitors. So the OnePlus 8 Pro is the Android smartphone that gives people more for less. Yeah. So let us know down in the comments below if would you get the OnePlus 8, would you get the Find X2 Pro or something else. Let us know what you think. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe. This is Victor signing off. Bye bye.